The Laboratory for Embodied Intelligences, or LEI for short, is an ongoing series of experiments in using our bodies to learn from other creatures, together with scientific research and data about those creatures' behaviors. By combining movement and scientific research, we are literally learning from other species new ways to perceive, communicate, move, collaborate, and make decisions, in hopes that we might avoid destroying ourselves and all other life on this planet by learning from these other creatures who've survived much longer than we.
All earthly life forms evolved from microbes. That means that perceptions and communications in plants and animals, including humans, are built upon a scaffolding of the perception, communication, and movement capacities given to us by microbes. Microbes have survived on Earth for over 3.5 billion years. We wondered if we could learn more sustainable ways from our long-lasting and adaptive elders, microbes and every other life form on the planet, before we extinguish most of them. Every other species on the planet has lasted way longer than we have or will. There's much we need to learn from them.
In and on your own body, you will find 100 times more microbial DNA than human DNA. Many of these microbes are actually in intimate contact with your second brain. That is the 100 million gut-located neurons that deeply impact your moods and thinking by controlling the other brain in your head. Maybe microbes are the masters of not just the atmosphere, soil, and water, but also us.
In the Laboratory for Embodied Intelligences, by using our bodies to mirror microbial ways, to kind of walk a mile in microbes' shoes, we wondered, could we learn something about microbes beyond the research data? The expert microbiologists we worked with were interested in our approach, sharing their research and feedback all along the way. We used mind-body experiments to activate skin sensitivity to inner and outer stimulus, such as subtle changes in temperature, in the air movement across our skin, in the textures found in our environment, and in contact with other bodies. Imagine reacting to sounds through your belly, to sight through your hands. Imagine taking in your environment and happenings from radically different places on your body. How does the world feel to you from these new vantage points? How do you react?
We then developed exercises in group pili locomotion. Later, we moved this way in small groups as if we were connected together by pili, which we achieved by keeping some part of our skin surface connected to each other, moving as an actual microbial chain does. This required us, as humans, to develop a group hive mind that would move our multiple bodies without our speaking or using scripts or signals. If the structure of our reason is created by the same mechanisms as our perceptions and movements, and those mechanisms have evolved from microbial behaviors, perhaps looking more deeply at microbial behaviors may locate patterns of connectedness between human logics and those of many species we believed ourselves superior to. We began running first with the random logic microbes use to explore a space, with no specific goal except to see what was there. Starving humans used this very same strategy when they searched for food, by the way. As for humans, i.e. our audiences when we performed, neurologists have found that simply seeing or hearing another body performing an action or posture can lead you to experience this same action in your own brain and muscles. You don't enact the gesture, but nerve clusters for producing this action fire, and your muscles are primed to act. Neurologists link this mirroring system to a survival-driven need for empathic skills. When I hear you do something, I experience your state, and I can sense viscerally how we might next interact.
There are no individual hierarchies in the microbial society. The community functions highly collaboratively.
Microbes often use pili to bind them to other microbes, allowing them to create chains, colonies, and architectures of endless variety. Through these connections, nutrients and information can be shared across an entire colony.
We used lengths of stretchy fabric in the studio and in performances as a prop to help illustrate these structures and the lines of communication. When the fabric pili are unfurled, individual bodies begin to weave them between the group, binding each person in a kind of connected film. No decisions are predetermined for movement, but the group has to listen to each other through the tension in the fabric. Information is shared regarding movement, weight shift, direction, intensity of force and speed, and more. In our movement experiments, we played with this exchange in two ways. One was an exercise where certain dancers remained fixed in place until a mobile dancer came very close. That ability to move could be passed on by this proximity. Second, dancers could pick up on elements of movements from audience members passing by. They wouldn't imitate the audience member, but would pick up their speed, their rhythm, or another skill they noticed.
If the recent research in neuroscience is correct, some of these new pathways for perception that we were able to develop, along with new ways to move and think, would have been transferred to the audience simply through their watching our unfamiliar movements. We could use these embodied tools to learn from any living thing, their methods of moving through the world, their ways of communication, of sharing, of evolving.
Contemporary case in point, viruses, like microbes, evolve incredibly fast by swapping and sharing needed elements. This is how, for example, the COVID-19 virus mutated so quickly and became so difficult to control. Viruses and microbes' so-called simplicity becomes an advantage. Their ability to share DNA leads to a quick evolution that is ultra-responsive. They are lean and efficient, holding on to only the DNA that they most need. On the other hand, we humans tend to hoard instead of share. We collect more and more clutter as time goes by. Perhaps this, in part, explains why our evolution is nowhere near fast enough to adapt to the damage created by microbes and viruses, let alone the damage we create ourselves.